Hey guys, it's Will, and today I'm going to be upgrading my MacBook Pro. I can show you guys how to do it with how I did it, but this MacBook is currently running on 2 gigs of RAM with a standard hard drive. I am going to be upgrading the RAM to 4 gigs. If you already have 4 gigs, you can upgrade to 8 using the same method. And I'm going to upgrade the hard drive to a solid-state drive using a Samsung A40 Evo, being that, they're nice. This MacBook's a 2010 model, so this will probably speed it up quite a bit. To do this upgrade, you're going to need RAM, if you're going to upgrade RAM, which isn't necessary. The solid-state drive is a much more important high-priority upgrade, I think. So you'll also need a solid-state drive. I got a 250 gig, but, depending on what you're doing, and if you have an external hard drive, you might be able to get away with a 120, or you could even go bigger if you need to. You're going to need a small screwdriver for opening the case of the Mac and taking out the hard drive. Now, to take the small screws out of the back of the MacBook, you need a Torx screwdriver, but being that those are hard to come by, you can actually use needle nose pliers and gently untwist the mounting pegs from the outside rather than the inside, which is what I've done, being that I don't have a Torx screwdriver, and it's worked fine because the hard drive that's in there now is one I installed as well. You'll also need an external SATA cable for cloning your hard drive to the new hard drive. Now at the end of this video, I'm going to show a comparison for opening an Adobe product like Photoshop or Premiere, and also like booting up to comparison to after the upgrade's been put in. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do in this upgrade process, once you have your MacBook on, is clone your hard drive onto the solid-state drive. So start by opening up the solid-state drive. Solid-state drive is small, very light, and although solid-state drives are substantially more durable, to the point that you can go like this without breaking them, even if they're running, do be careful with it. So to clone your hard drive, you just want to use a cloning service. I am going to be using SuperDuper, being that it was recommended to me in the process of doing this. So for starters, you want to take your solid-state drive and your external cable-y thing, plug the two SATA ends together, like this, and it essentially turns your SSD into an external hard drive. You then want to set that down. You then just want to plug it into the side of your Mac. If you can use both USB ports, it will be faster, however you only need one. Your Mac will register and say that it's not readable, being that the disk isn't formatted at all, so you can just ignore that. So then what you're going to want to do is go into the disk manager, or disk utility, sorry. Once disk utility, as you can see, this is taking a long time, being that the computer's not particularly fast. And then you'll see the Samsung 250 gigabyte hard drive, or whatever your solid state drive is. You would just want to click erase and just clean it out. There shouldn't be anything in it, but this will just help make sure it's super clean, and it should be cleaned again later on. So this formatting, erasing process doesn't take too long, but, do you want to use Untitled to back up with Time Machine? No, I don't want to back up with Time Machine. If you get asked that, just say no. Alright, so once that's wiped, you're pretty much good with that, and then you can open up SuperDuper, which is somewhere in here. There we go. SuperDuper is a cloning and backup software. What you're going to want to do is select your Mac OS hard drive for what you're copying, and then you're going to copy it to Untitled, which is your Samsung drive. And you want to just select Backup All Files. Now, backing up all files will take your user data and all of your files, so when you put the new hard drive in, it should boot up just same wallpaper, same application, same everything. It'll be pretty much exactly the same as it was before, just a lot faster. So then you just click Copy Now. And, if you need to authenticate, do so. and then it'll prompt you that you're about to erase it. being that you're going to be re-wiping the solid-state drive. Just wipe it again anyway, just to be safe. And now it'll run, 3 things. No, I don't want to use for... Stop that. Alright, that was pretty much just it re-registering that it was there. And now you just want to wait while it copies all of your files and all that. So, we'll cut to that. When the cloning process is done, if you're using Super Duper, you'll probably get prompted to register. I'm just not going to deal with that. And then you're pretty much done. So, yeah. I will check in disk utility to make sure it went through, though. Alright, it says all the data's been copied, being that I used about 90 gigs in the restoration, and it says 160 are left. So, the next step isn't too complicated. The next step is just the physical hardware install. So, you're going to want to eject your solid-state drive. You don't really need to wait much for it to spin down, but make sure it's been ejected thoroughly. Then unplug it. And then you begin the disassembly process to install the hard drive manually. For the disassembly process, if you have a case, be sure to take it off, being that, you gotta get at the screws. Now, how on earth do I get this thing off? Be easier to get off from the front? Yes, it is. There we go. Alright. So, with the case off, you have access to these 10 screws. You're going to want to put them in something. I am going to use the dish that the solid-state drive came in. Try and remember where each of the screws goes, but it is not mandatory. Some screws will be longer than others. Once you have all the screws out, you can just gently lift the back aluminum cover off, revealing the inside of the computer. Once on the inside, you'll see the hard drive is in this lower corner. You remove the screws in the frame. You will most likely only need to remove this side, however the other side can be loosened. With this removed, set that aside. Now if your hard drive has, I'm going to loosen the other side. If your hard drive has a little pull tab to help you lift it, that's good, but make sure you're very, very careful. Being that your hard drive is held in with a SATA cable, which the ribbon is very fragile. I have a little trouble wedging this thing out. Come on. There we go. So very, very gently lift it out, and you'll see that there's this ribbon cable here. Gently slide that out of the hard drive, and then you have your old hard drive. You'll see that there are these pegs in the side. If you have a Torx screw, you can remove them with that. However, I will be removing them with a pair of needle nose pliers. You only really need to loosen them initially, and then they can be twisted by hand. Do note that the screws holding in the pegs can be a little long, depending on your model, so it might take a little longer. I just know that I have a Windows computer as well, and the pegs, or they're actually not pegs, it's just screws in that attach the hard drive in, are much, much shorter. And also just use Phillips head instead of torque, because torque is obnoxious. But it does encourage you to go to Apple support if you need to get something changed so Apple can make more money. I bought this computer secondhand. I am not a big fan of Apple. However, you know, it's great for video editing. I'll be editing this video on this computer. Once you have all the screws out, you can set your old hard drive aside, and this can be used as external storage if you have a chassis for it, or you can be put into another computer if you have another computer that needs it. Now you want to take the little pegs and put them in the new hard drive. When putting the pegs back in, or rather putting them into the new hard drive, they just need to be snug, but they don't need to be super duper tight. You don't want to make them so tight that it damages the hard drive. Or rather, the solid state drive. Well, technically it is a hard drive, it's just not a hard disk drive. With all the pegs in your hard drive, you can take the SATA ribbon, again be very careful, and mesh it into the new hard drive SATA port so it's attached, and then slide that into place, putting it back into the harness thing. If you loosen this side, I recommend tightening it first. It won't take much to tighten. Also be careful while loose, these screws on this side can come out, while on the other side they are fixed. Alright, with that in, you can then close up the computer. However, if you're also doing a RAM upgrade, you'll want to take your new RAM. You're ready to install that. It's good to make sure you're grounded, touch something metal, wash your hands. If you have a grounding strip with a wrist that you can clip to the frame of the computer, please do that. I should be static free. To remove the RAM, pull out on the sides here, and the RAM chip should flip up. And you can look at them. We have a 1 GB Hynix chip that I'll put next to the old hard drive, and then another chip that, do I need to pull this back again to get this out? Ooh, I do, that's a pain. And another Hynix 1 GB chip. This one's bluer than the other one. Either way. Then you want to take your new RAM. I got mine on Amazon. It's Apple RAM, but you know, they just fulfilled it and got my money. So be careful with this, it's going to be on the fragile side. You essentially put your fancy new RAM in the way you took your fancy old RAM out, by gently inserting it into the slot, and then pressing it down until it clicks into place. Once installed, you have the new RAM, and you can then close up your computer. So to do that, just take your aluminum plate, place it back on, and put the screws back in. I recommend putting the long screws just into their holes first, just to hold everything together, even though gravity should do it. And then it's just a matter of tightening the screws. Once you have all the screws back in, if you'd like to put your case back on, you can. I'm going to take the old RAM and put it in the case that the new RAM came in, just for the sake of ease and storage. If you know someone who's in need of whatever size RAM you just took out, you can try and sell it. However, if you're upgrading from 1 gig or from having 2 gigs total, and having two 1 gig sticks. I doubt anyone's going to really want that unless they only have one port filled. So now I would advise you to put your case back on if you have it, unless you think you're going to need to open it again. In that case, it's okay to leave the case off. I am going to put mine back on though, if I can. Jeez. Hook it on from the bottom first. Yeah. Come on. Alright, once you have... This does not want to go on. Come on, case. There we go. Once you have your case back on, you can flip your computer back over and turn it back on. After installing a solid-state drive, it might actually take longer than normal the first time to boot up, as your computer relocates everything installed and on the drive. So be patient with that, but once everything situates itself, speed should improve. And there you go. Boots up, has my old everything, and yet here the old hard drive is, so everything was successfully cloned. Now, just to run a quick, simple diagnostic. Oh, super duper. I guess I left it open so it's trying to reopen itself. No, super duper. So, just to show that everything's in well, it now has 4 gigs of memory instead of 2, and I can go and show the storage as well. And it is now running on the new hard drive. However, everything is marked as other, even though there's absolutely some movies and apps in there, so I don't know what's up with that. So now I'm going to show you guys the before and after for running and opening and closing things. For the after boot up, this is turning it on after it's been turned on the initial time. So let's see how long it takes to boot up. So that's a small bit faster. There's also other optimizing you can do to improve the solid-state drive performance, but this is just a simple hardware install. And now for launching Premiere. That is a hell of a lot faster. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and this has been how to upgrade your MacBook by installing a solid-state drive and more RAM. I don't know whether I'll be doing more tech support type videos, probably not. I tried to install a solid-state drive in my Windows PC and did run into some issues with that. So I was going to do a video with that, and then things went wrong, and I was like, alright, let's not. But, you know, for upgrading the Mac, despite the fact that I find Macs a little annoying to work with, upgrading the hardware is amazingly easy for a MacBook. Just taking all the screws out is a bit of a pain. So yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll get some more videos soon.